so Summa Silver is a very new silver-focused story, and it's kind of funny. I was saying to the guys last night, we're less than 2 years into this, and this is actually the first time I've presented live. I've been doing it on Zoom all the time and doing one-to-one meetings, so it's great to be back, thanks to you guys, right? And of course, today is the first day where the mask mandate ends in BC, so hey, here we go. Okay, so Summa Silver, like I was saying, we're not even 2 years into this and have really accomplished quite a bit in the last couple years, so I'll just get right into it here. Of course, the cautionary forward-looking statement slide. I'm the CEO of the company and a big shareholder, so most of my statements are going to be forward-looking, just as a warning. So really, Summa Silver, it's a U.S.-focused, high-grade silver and gold exploration story with 2 properties that can comprise big portions of past-producing, historic, famous Wild West silver districts that go back, to 100-plus years ago, 130 years ago. These were, rush towns, and these are some of the places that really helped shape, the early history of the American West. So it's, as a geologist, and I'll say I'm a geologist because I don't, you'll figure it out really quick. For us, that's a great opportunity to kind of go into these new places or these old places that we all learned about in textbooks, and really attempt to make new discoveries in them. Okay, so the cap structure of the company. We're trading today at $1.24, $1.25. There's about 77 million shares outstanding. And enviably, there's a working cap of about $13.5 million. So we're very, very well financed to be very aggressive this year with the drill bit, and that's what we're going to do. And the last thing I like to just point out here is, our shareholder base. It's we personally own a lot. I own a lot, but it's very nice that I can say that Eric Sprott owns 18% of the company. He's been with us since the very beginning, since we were financing at 20 cents or 25 cents in May of 2020. And then very recently, we just completed another financing, and First Majestic joined us as a shareholder as well. So, we're really starting to get that traction, and people ask me, hey, why are these guys shareholders? Why would you want to be a shareholder of Summa Silver? Well, I think these guys all know on the stage here that quality silver projects that are high grade are very, very difficult to find, and quality silver projects in the Western U.S. that meet those criteria are even harder to find. So I think we're all in enviable positions up here. Okay, so when we got Summa started for the last couple years, it's really been a really interesting drilling story where we've got some very high-grade results on now both these projects that I'm going to get into in a little bit. But hey, and we're really not comfortable with ever just taking it easy. So now it's really time for Summa to take the next step forward. And of course, that would be a mineral resource. So that is really our focus this year, is mineral resources on both of our projects. And if you start to look at some of the, I won't say comps, but some of the companies that are a little further ahead than us, or even a lot further ahead than us, it really becomes clear when you compare their ounces in the ground to what their market cap is, that high grades command premium valuations. So for us, I've got the top right of that slide, we've got some statistics, and I just want to point out that our average drill grade, give or take, is probably 400 to 700 grams per ton silver equivalent. And whenever I say that in this presentation, it's just silver and gold. So in that neighborhood, there's some stuff that's even up to 10,000 plus grams per ton silver equivalent, or a meter, or a little bit more than a meter. So there's some ultra high grades there. There's some low grades as well. So let's just say 400 to 700 grams per ton. Well, if you look at companies that are through that resource, I've got some comps there, and I say I have an average of $5 an ounce market cap per resource. And I wouldn't expect that we would command something like that because, of course, we've got, I'm including companies that are much more advanced than us, like say Silvercrest or Mag Silver. But if you look at what Vizsla just came out with last week, they're getting in the neighborhood of $3 an ounce. So, I don't know how many ounces we're going to have in the ground, at the end of this year, but, we're being very aggressive and shooting for something that I think is going to justify a significant re-rating from here. So leave that with me for about a year or a little less. Oh, I went backwards, excuse me. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the properties now. The first one I'm going to talk about is called the Mogollon property, and this one is in southwestern New Mexico. A little bit of a strange name, but it's named after one of the old Spanish governors of New Mexico going back to the 1600s or something like that. And this really is an under-the-radar opportunity that I think has the potential to be one of the last great vein fields remaining in the United States. It was discovered in 1888 and produced until 1942. Production only shut down in 1942 because that's when the U.S. went into World War II. So that's when all gold and silver mining in the U.S. stopped by law for the war. Not too much happened between then, but in the 80s it was drilled a little bit. And the drilling that was done in the 80s got some really strong results. There was an area that I'll show you next that was that had 12 holes into it. 9 holes into it, where the average grade was 12 meters of 500 grams per ton silver equivalent. Now, of course, we can't use those results in a quote-unquote compliant resource today, but what they do give us is the perfect roadmap to where to just step up and start building high-grade ounces right away. So here's a longitudinal section, an underground side view of the first drilling area where those holes were drilled. It's an area that's 500 meters by 300 meters. Say the average true thickness of the historical holes was somewhere around 8 meters at 500 grams per ton silver equivalent. So that's going to take about 50 holes for us to drill out this year. And we've done 6 so far, 2 are pending, but we put out results for the first 4 just last week, with the headline here being 450 grams per ton silver equivalent over 11.5 meters. But also all 4 holes hit some quite strong mineralization. Each one is over 2,000 on a GT basis, so multiplying the grade times the drilled length. And really, these are the first 4 holes, and we're getting headlines like that, like we're only just getting started. There's 45 or so more to come this year. So that's just one target. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. Now we're just looking at a map view. The area I just showed you before this, it was just that if you look near the top part of the map, there's a green rectangle. So that's just the area we're drilling as target 1. That's 500 meters of 34 kilometers of total strike length of vein on the property. So that's like about 1.5% of the total strike length of the vein, and really almost none of it is drilled. So when we first got started working here just this last summer, we didn't have any data on what the veins ran at surface at all. We knew there was a lot of old, pits around. So one of the first things we did there just this last summer was, the geologist got out there and crawled over these hills like ants and sampled everything. So what we found was that, hey, over an area that's about 3.5 kilometers by 3.5 kilometers, hey, look at all these grades still here. Anywhere from you can go around that, that circle and see, hey, 5,000 grams per ton silver equivalent, 2,000 grams per ton silver equivalent. I don't need to read them all out. There's lots of life still in this district, and the large majority of it is not tested. Okay, so that's the one property. Now, the second property, as Peter was saying, hey, that there's 2 flagships here, and there really is for now. We don't know which property is going to end up being a flagship, but we're working both of them aggressively. So the second property is called the Hughes property. Now, this is the eastern district, the eastern half of the historic Tonopah district. And if you guys have, I see Andrew back there with Blackrock Silver. Andrew's got the western half of it. And funny story is that, we both started working here right within a month of each other without even knowing each other, after nothing had been done in this district since probably about 1950-ish, in that neighborhood, give or take. So this is the second largest past producing district in Nevada, produced something like 175 million ounces of silver and almost 2 million ounces of gold at grades of about 1,260 grams per ton silver equivalent. So it's just this big, high-grade, past-producing district that you read about in all the textbooks when you're in geology school. And really, before the last couple of years, no modern exploration at all. None of the geological modeling had ever been done. But I've been through this process a few times, big data compilations. And whenever you go into a district like this, you have a chance, and it hasn't been explored, and you have the data. When you do the legwork to get the modeling done, you really find that there's often a lot of juice left to squeeze. So we started drilling this in summer of 2020. Since then, I've got some pretty strong results. I see it's just a little bit garbled up there, so I'll just read them out. 4,400 grams per ton silver equivalent over 2.8 meters, 3,760 grams per ton silver equivalent over 2.5 meters, etc. But really there, I think, bigger picture, when you zoom out from the individual drill results, we've got grades of over 1,000 grams per ton silver equivalent over 4 target areas over a trend of 3.5 kilometers and still largely open in most of the zones. Here's just a little zoomed in map of the property and the highlight drill results on the left that I won't read out. But what I like to concentrate on this slide is the map on the right. So we've drilled 4 target areas on this project. The two targets on the western side, the left side of the map, those are in the old district, really, where we've done the really detailed modeling to try to come up with, hey, what did the old timers leave behind? Because we know they left a lot behind. And that's where, the bulk of our results have come from so far. Then the two targets on the east are more exploration flavored, really where we're looking for an extension of the entire district, like taking that big swing to see, hey, how much further could this go for? And the most interesting one is called the Ruby Discovery, and that's about a 1.5 kilometers past, where the mining district ended, give or take. And then our first hole in there in 2020 hit 6 zones of mineralization, the best one being about 2 meters of 500 grams per ton. So, it's something that's quite interesting, but now really what we need to do out there is find the sweet spot, find where the mineralization blows out. But, we've really proven that the district continues to the east. It is not cut off. It keeps going, right? So if we can keep pressing forward and find out where that sweet spot is out there, the district produced 175 million ounces of silver and 2 million ounces of gold. We're looking for something really big. And that's really what this slide is just the district comparison. How does Tonopah compare to some of the famous Mexican mining districts that the Spanish have been mining going back like 500 years? Well, Tonopah produced over a strike length of 4 kilometers and those many ounces. But you compare that to Guanajuato, San Dimas, Pachuca. They all produced over much larger strike lengths and, of course, many more ounces. So the lower half of this slide is just, it really just puts that strike length just as a visual representation, where the length of each of those white lines is the strike length. So if you take Tonopah at 4 kilometers and that many ounces produced, you add 1.3 kilometers onto it where we made the Ruby discovery. And even if it continues further on to the east, it fits in, it slots in quite nicely with how big these districts can get when they get to be truly world-class. And it's actually that realization that led me to do the staking on the eastern half of the district in like January of 2020. I got on a plane and I went down there and actually staked it myself. So it's a high conviction idea for sure. So that's it. That's the Summa silver opportunity in 10 minutes.